Hey, and welcome back to another episode of the Rockwell Farms Garden Show.
I'm Josiah.
I'm Mark.
Good to see y'all.
Well, today we're going to be talking about what? Fruit trees?
Fruit tree care. So
Yeah.
I've actually got a comment from Debbie. What fruit trees grow best in Arkansas? So today we're going to be talking about what trees grow best here, what we sell here at our nursery.
And how they pollinate each other.
Yeah, how they pollinate, and some care tips on how to take care of them once you get them planted in your yard. I got a couple.
And just so that you know, all of our fruit trees are for our zone 6. Zone 6.
Yeah.
So
that we carry over the last, 30 years you've been doing this?
Oh, yeah.
Only varieties that grow best here. We've seen a lot of different varieties come and go, but the selection that we're going to be showing you today or talking about is the selection that really is kind of tried and true for this zone.
Yes.
And what really grows best here and pollinates well and produces well.
So we'll be talking about rootstocks, disease resistance, and just overall health.
And semi-dwarf and whatnot. So I got a comment here from Busby. Talk about crabapple trees. And so, just talk about crabapple trees.
Well, some of my favorite on crabapple would be like a Profusion is probably my favorite. I love the color. I love the fruit of them. Crab apples are really good, especially I like them for farm areas or big areas.
Yeah.
Because they attract birds. You get that nice color in the spring. And then you have the fruit for the birds and also for canning.
Yeah.
They'll pollinate your apple trees. And in the fall, the foliage is burgundy. It's beautiful.
Oh yeah, I like the Robinson. The Robinson's probably my other favorite. I do like the Profusion, but the Robinson's going to be more of like a royal purple to a pink.
Yep.
And it kind of changes color as it goes, which is a really pretty tree. Now also, we're talking about fruit trees today. Crab apples can pollinate your other apple trees, and so that's another upside of having a beautiful crab apple in your yard.
And in all honesty, I don't think there's a prettier tree in the spring than a crab apple.
I agree.
Yeah.
You get just bright, brilliant color. Another comment that we got is from Tommy. Moved here from Louisiana. What grows best in Northwest Arkansas? What's great about our nursery actually is you can come on in the nursery. Any of our people here can help you figure out what grows best here. Again, because this nursery's been here for so long, we really try to keep varieties that only do great in this area. So whether that comes to trees, shrubs, flowers, perennials.
And what a lot of people don't know is that this used to be fruit capital of the country. I mean, Webster's, that's why Webster's is based here for small fruits and so forth.
Gotcha.
If you go through Northwest Arkansas, you'll see roads called Orchard Road, Orchard Boulevard.
Yeah.
Van Zandts have been producing fruit here for a long time.
Yeah.
So apple, peach, and pear production is very big here in Northwest Arkansas because we get all the seasons. So we'll get into that as far as trees have to have a certain number of chilling hours to produce. And so that's why Northwest Arkansas is just prime for fruit trees.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for leaving those comments. You can comment on there if you have gardening questions, and that helps other gardeners, or we'll give those answers on this show.
Yeah.
Or we might even just start a show like, thanks Debbie, we might even start a show about what this is about.
Touch on your raffle. I don't want to forget
Raffle.
about that.
Oh yeah. Hey, so we are raffling off a free 25-gallon shade tree of your choice. All you have to do is come up to the nursery, show that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also get an extra raffle ticket for liking us on Facebook or following us on Instagram. You just show that you do that. We'll give you a raffle ticket. We'll even include free planting and everything that goes along with the tree to make sure that you're successful and you'll have a good tree.
Yep. Okay, so right now we're amongst our peach trees. And here at Rockwell Farms, there's 4 different varieties that we like to really focus on.
Yes.
We'll have other varieties, but we're going to talk about 4 of them this morning.
Yeah.
Our early ones are the Bella Georgia and the Alberta.
Yep.
And then our later ones will be the Red Haven and the Reliance.
Yeah.
Now you might wonder why we carry different varieties. Well, first of all, your Bella Georgia is the best tasting peach ever.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's why they named the state after the peach. Okay.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, bar none, it's the best one. And then your Alberta is very good also. Both those are early, meaning that it takes 500 chilling hours for them to produce fruit. The negative thing about them is that they will sometimes get nipped by a early frost.
But the fruit is so good tasting.
It's fabulous.
It just makes it all worth it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that's why we sell those, is for the early peaches. Now your later peaches will be your Red Haven and your Reliance. If you get a late frost, your Red Haven and your Reliance will still produce fruit.
Yeah, the bloom won't fall, you'll still get fruit. And I actually really like the Reliance. That's actually a good Ozark peach.
Yes.
And so grows really well here.
Yep. So those are the 4 main ones that we try to carry here at Rockwell Farms, or actually always carry. And on your apples, oh my word, we have such a variety of apples.
Yeah, I mean, you can't see them right now, but they're behind you, behind the camera. But man, they look great. A lot of them actually have fruit on them already. So that's awesome.
Unless my kids get to them.
No, unless I do.
So some of our mainstays, is not the only apples that we carry, will be your Gala, Red Delicious, Yellow Delicious,
and Granny Smith.
And Granny Smith. Those 4 varieties we always carry here at Rockwell Farms. Now you have others, the Rayburn, the Arkansas Black is one that we always carry here.
Yeah.
Your Rome apple. So you have other offshoots, Liberty, Pink Lady. But those 4, the Gala, Red Delicious, Golden Delicious, and the
Granny Smith,
are mainstays here at Rockwell Farms. And I'll tell you why. Those 4 will pollinate most every other apple.
Yeah.
Those are your mid-season bloomers.
Yeah.
Now, some of your mid-season bloomers will bloom a little earlier, like your Gala, which will take care of your early varieties, like the one we were talking about earlier, the Honey Crisp, and some of the earlier variety apples. And then your later ones will also be pollinated. Golden Delicious, in my opinion, is the longest bloomer. And so it will take care of your Rome and so forth that are later.
Yeah, so when it comes to pollination, say that we've got a customer that comes up here wants 1 apple tree.
Yes.
What do you tell the person that just wants 1 apple tree?
I would say I don't sell them just 1.
Yeah.
Because you have to have a pollinator.
Right.
So I would sell them 2 of them, and I'd ask them, well, what's your intent? Is it for cooking, fresh eating?
Yeah.
Because if it's for cooking, I would do the Granny Smith.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Love that one. Yeah.
And fresh eating would be the, if you want a soft, sweet apple, that'd be the Golden Delicious. If you want a hard, sweet apple, that'd be the Red Delicious. And the Gala is just a fabulous apple.
Love it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great for just picking right off the tree.
So as far as pollination goes, here at Rockwell Farm, we recommend having 2 apples, different varieties around the same bloom time. So, having that Granny Smith, Gala, Red Delicious, Yellow Delicious, with those being mid-season blooming apples, they're going to catch the tail end of the early blooming apples and catch the beginning of the late blooming apples. So that way you have better pollination. You'll get a higher yield that way. Even if something is somewhat self-fertile, we still recommend having 2, so that way you can get a good yield off of it.
Okay, a big question that we have is spacing. How far apart do we have to space our fruit trees? Okay.
So that's a good question.
I say the minimum is 20 foot.
Yeah.
You can go a lot further than that, because the honeybee, you have the honeybee pollination, and bees travel 50 miles a day. You have wind pollination, you have insect pollination. The closest that you want your fruit trees is 20 foot.
Gotcha.
That's pretty much on average what I tell people.
Yeah.
Because you will always crop your tree to where, and we'll get into that, the pruning of a tree, but you always want to crop it down to, number 1, so that you have good aeration and that you can harvest. So we'll talk about pruning and thinning. Those are two
also depending on the size of your spacing, also is determined by the size of your tree. But here at Rockwell Farms, we like the semi-dwarf.
Yes, semi-dwarf does really well in our rocky clay soil.
Yeah.
Okay. We totally stay away from standard.
Yeah.
Because they grow too fast, get too tall, and they're hard to manage.
Right. Yeah.
And sometimes we'll get in the dwarf. Dwarf are very hard to get. Because you're always competing with the growers of the trees.
Right.
Dwarf do not produce as well as your semi-dwarf.
Yeah.
So you'll get a lot less fruit.
I actually like the semi-dwarf. Typically they get around 10 to 15 or a little bit
Yes.
taller than that. What I like about that is you're actually, rather than it producing a lot more branch structure, it's actually putting all of that back into the fruit, which I really, really like about the semi-dwarf.
And I want to go back to the varieties of apples real quick. The reason why we promote the Arkansas Black is because I think it was developed in 1923 by the University of Arkansas to have a apple that was disease resistant and had a very long shelf life.
Yes.
Because during that time, people wanted something that they could grow, that would maintain, so that they could feed their family.
Yeah.
So the Arkansas Black is probably your #1 seller, is it not?
I would agree. We usually on the Arkansas Black we sell out about just every year.
Yes. But the only bad thing about the Arkansas Black and the Jonathan Gold, those two varieties will not pollinate others. So so you have to have another tree like we talked about, those 4, to pollinate the Arkansas Black and the Jonathan Gold.
Yep.
Okay. So what do you want to go to next? You want to talk about apple trees and what to do this fall?
Yeah, let's do that.
This is mid-August.
Yeah.
And so fall is coming around and we want to talk about how to maintain your apple tree. And you maintain your apple tree and peaches really similar.
Yeah.
The thing about an orchard is that it will be the most butt ugly trees you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah.
I mean, really, they
but it's
are.
not for the tree, it's for the fruit. Yeah.
Right. So I talked about it earlier about you cropping it down. So the best time to prune your trees is when it has no leaves. I always have the rule of never prune your fruit trees unless you have coveralls on.
Yeah, I've heard that actually, yeah.
Okay, good. So you wait till the leaves have dropped before you prune. Now, rule of thumb is to prune your tree, there's pruning and there's thinning. So thinning is when you take out whole limbs. Like on this one right here, it's a small tree, but any limb, I don't know if you can see it, but this limb right here is going into the central leader. You want to take that one out.
Yeah.
So thinning is taking out whole limbs and increasing aeration. Pruning is when you take a little bit off of all the tree. So what you'll do is that you'll take off any limb that's going into the central part of the tree, and then your pruning is when you take off part of the limb. And what that does, pruning is very important because it increases the girth of this limb right here.
Correct.
So on your peach trees and your apple trees, the last thing you want is what we call a central leader. This one right here has a central leader. You want to take that out. This one right here, the central leader was clipped right here, and that's why you see these two on the very top.
So this is going to cause your tree to bush out. It's going to increase the girth of those branches. So that way when you do have fruit production, your branch isn't going to be falling all the way to the ground. Now you will see some of that anyway, but you do want a strong branch so that way you can support the growth of your fruit. Also another thing with
every time that you do that, you increase the thickness of this, and the reason for that is when you do get fruit, you don't have broken branches.
Correct. Another thing, by thinning this out, you know, branches that are growing parallel to each other or crossing each other, eliminating the weaker branch, what that's going to do is cause aeration. You'll have better aeration through your tree, and that's really important to help eliminate diseases and pests. When you have better aeration, you're just going to have better fruit and a healthier tree. And so by eliminating that, I heard an old timer tell me you should be able to throw a cat right through the middle of your tree.
That is how you knew.
I would never do that.
That's how you measure a good job. So a lot of farmers, what they'll do is that after they thin out the trees, they'll take these longer ones and you will clip this. I'd like to clip them about 50% every year. And you see how they're growing up, and especially on your pear trees, they'll have a tendency to grow up. What they'll do is that they will weight these down to where they will grow more lateral rather than up like this. Because a weak limb will be like this at a 45-degree angle. A very strong limb grows at a 90-degree angle because there's no constriction of the vascular system.
And that way it's also going to be easier to go and harvest that fruit off of there without having to get a 30-foot ladder, which is another reason we like the semi-dwarf. because rather than having a 30-foot tall tree with the fruit way high up, you have it closer to 10 to 15 foot, so much easier to harvest.
Yeah, and so our biggest recommendation is to use, when you're pruning, use it as part of your anger management. So when your life is not going too well,
yeah,
and you need to really take out the frustration,
go and prune your trees.
Yes, go prune your fruit trees. That's the time to do it.
That is so funny.
But I've seen a lot of farmers, they'll weight it down, or they'll put spikes around the tree and they tie them down to where these limbs are more at a 90-degree angle rather than up.
Yeah, growing fruit trees is really an art form, especially when it comes to apples.
Right, and if you go to an orchard of peach trees, you'll see an 8-inch diameter lateral limb with a whole bunch of twigs coming out from it.
Right.
Like I said, they're the most bud ugly trees you'll ever see. And all the fruit grows off those little limbs, off that 8-inch. And that 8-inch limb will sustain or support all that weight from the fruit. That way they don't have any broken limbs.
So why don't we talk about, so we've talked about peaches, we've talked about apples. You know, we also have nectarines, we have pears, cherries, plums.
Our two most favorite varieties of nectarines would have to be the Fantasia
and the red gold.
And the red gold. Now, red gold is actually, I think, more of a superior nectarine to our area.
That's actually a really good Ozark nectarine, so it grows really well here.
And then of your pear trees, tell them about the Kiefer pear. You love the Kiefer pear.
Yeah, so I like the, so there's a few pear varieties that I really favor, of course, Bartlett being one of them, but the Kiefer pear I think is such a superior variety. The reason why, it's actually another good Ozark fruit, but it's blight resistant, disease resistant. It's a really good variety that can handle a lot of crap. And actually, I think pear is actually one of the easiest fruit trees that you can grow here. I mean, just with little to no maintenance, and just plop it in the ground, give it some water, and it really just does well.
And of the Bartlett pear, I love the Bartlett pear because when it turns yellow and it's really soft, and the juice just kind of runs on your shirt.
Yeah, the store-bought pears that you get that are really good, or the ones that are wrapped in that like gold aluminum that you gift to people in the holidays, that's a Bartlett pear. And so I like the Bartlett pear because the juice.
And the Moonglow is a sport of the Bartlett pear, which does have more disease resistance. So, and of those two, it's very important that we stay away from the standard. We always go with the semi-dwarfs.
Yeah.
And on your pear trees, it's very important for you, you know how they kind of grow up like that?
Yeah.
If there's any tree that you need to crop every year, it's the pear tree. Take off at least 50%, and then when it does produce fruit, you'll find that limb naturally pulling down from the weight of the fruit.
Definitely agreed.
Yeah.
And pear trees are just so forgiving. So when it comes to pruning, there's really almost not a wrong way because it's so forgiving.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you could just whack it across the top.
It'll fill back out.
It will fill back out.
Yeah, that's a really good one.
Another variety of fruit tree that we carry are the plums.
Yeah.
Now your plums, you have your Santa Rosa and its sister, the
Methylae, or I'm sorry, AU Rosa.
Yeah, AU Rosa.
AU Rosa.
Now those are self-pollinating, but if you want any type of, if you want more fruit, and then you have your Ozark plum as well. If you want any type of fruit, the Metheny is a very good pollinator of all three.
Yeah.
So even though they're self-fertile, we like to include pollinators along with those.
So your AU Rosa or your Santa Rosa, those are a red plum.
Yep.
And then your Methylae is, that one is a purple plum. Yeah. So you have kind of the best of both worlds. Some people say they like the red versus the purple.
Yep.
I think they're both pretty good.
Now I want to talk about cherries. There's three main cherry trees that we carry. And that would have to be the Rainier, the North Star, and the Stella.
Yeah. So those are actually, especially your Rainier and your North Star, those two are really great. Just any homeowner.
Those are my favorites.
Cherries, just out in the front yard.
Yes.
The bloom to the fruit. So.
Yes. The Rainier is a sweet cherry tree for the homeowner. It's really pretty because it's white and red. It's a very pretty cherry.
Yep.
And then your North Star is more of a sour cherry, but both of them produce extremely well here in Northwest Arkansas.
Actually, so our trees that we had, they were already producing, and so We got fed pretty good just walking through selling the fruit trees.
Yeah, the biggest detriment
every time
is the employees. Here.
Now the Stella
yes.
is a really good pollinator. Now your Stella, the reason we carry the Stella is because it pollinates every other
cherry
tree really, really, really well. And so you'll get a far, far better yield, and the flavor of it is actually a sweet cherry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And a lot of people ask for the Bing cherry. I know it's a very popular one. We do not carry the Bing because the Bing cannot handle Northwest Arkansas's climate.
Yeah.
Cherry trees are very sensitive to what we call wet feet.
Yeah.
Okay. So here we have clay soil, which has a tendency to hold water. And if you have a winter that has rain, which we always do, that cherry tree has trouble making it because it is cold and wet on its feet.
So your best environment for a cherry is going to be really loamy soil and well draining, loamy soil for your cherry trees. Otherwise, you're going to have a lot of problems with those cherries.
Exactly.
If you're planting in a really high clay area, clay is what we use to line ponds. It holds high water retention, and so not the place for a cherry.
So really all you need is for the area of your cherry tree to be 6 inches higher than the rest of the landscape.
Yep, and you can build that cherry up rather than not being able to put it in the ground at all.
Very good info.
Yep.
So the other fruit trees that we have for our zone 6A would be
Fig.
oh yes. Now on the fig, we've grown all the varieties. Brown turkey is really good for if you live in Louisiana. There's the old Chicago. I haven't had much luck with it.
Chicago hardy, yeah.
Chicago hardy.
It's not as hardy.
Right. So we've narrowed it down to the #1 fig that we grow
Celeste.
is the Celeste.
Yeah.
Celeste is the one that we've had very good success with. The way that you grow the Celeste is every year pile up about 5 foot of leaves. Reason why I like leaves is because you give aeration during the winter time
And water runoff as well.
and water runoff, and so it will not rot out your tree. And then in the springtime, move all those away, and you'll see to where it'll, the main stems will still be alive. It'll leaf out again, and that way you'll get fruit. So the main goal of your figs is to get fruit before the winter comes.
Now let's talk persimmon. So we usually carry 2 main variety of the persimmon.
The Fuji
and the native, your common persimmon.
No, not Fuji.
Fuyu.
No, you're not gonna fool me.
Fuyu once.
Not
Fuyu twice.
Fuyu twice.
Fuyu, yeah.
All right, Fuyu and the common persimmon. Common persimmon is a very good one for those deer hunters.
Yes, yep.
I think that's one of the only people we sell those to.
That's our wildlife tree.
Yes.
If you have a hunting grounds, that's what they come in for almost every time. That and the apples.
Now the persimmon fruit will be very tart, extremely tart. It'll make you pucker. It's like 100% alum.
Yeah.
But as it ripens, it becomes sweet.
Yeah.
But you have to get it right at its very ripest point.
Right. Yeah. Another one we sell is pawpaw. Pawpaw trees. That one's a really important one.
Pawpaw tree is very unique and unusual because they're all derived from seed. Okay. And pawpaw tree is one of those special fruit trees that will pollinate itself. So one seed variety will pollinate the other seed variety.
Yeah.
So you don't have to have different pawpaw trees or anything, but
you just have to have 2.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So there's other fruit trees and so forth that we carry. Or did we mention them all?
I think we've got most of our fruit trees.
Yeah, we sure did. Yeah. So now let's talk about insecticides, fungicides, and when to apply them.
Yeah, let's talk about the maintenance program to go forward on having healthy trees.
There you go.
So if you are getting fruit trees or you have fruit trees, these are some things that we highly recommend that can prolong the longevity of your fruit trees, get better production, have good tasting fruit, and not have any problems. So whether you have some of these problems or you want to prevent some of these problems, these are some things that you can do.
This is what we call our fruit tree care package.
Yeah. So as far as, like diseases or fungus, the 2 things that we highly recommend is actually the fungicide 5 and the copper soap. Now on these 2 items, we like both of them. We like to do an alternation between the 2 products.
Because they have different modes of action.
Yeah.
So you're approaching any disease, any every disease, whether it's bacteria or fungi, with these two right here.
Correct. So like things like leaf peach curl.
Yep.
Peach leaf curl. This will be a preventative. You
Fruit
definitely
rot.
want to do that. Like
You won't
on
have any problems
bloom.
with fruit rot.
As far as blight goes, blight is actually transferred mostly through the bloom.
Correct.
In the springtime when it's bloom. So you'll alternate on these through your bloom time, like on your apple trees or things that are more prone to fire blight.
And you can't go wrong.
And that will prevent that from happening and from spreading. But it's your most important around the bloom time.
Yes.
So from the time that the bud is
right before it's breaking.
and then as it goes through its bloom, we do recommend spraying that. Now, another thing for your fruit trees, for your bugs, like, you know, the worm that might get in your peaches or your apples.
After the bloom time, this is when you want to use the fruit tree spray.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep, so your fruit tree spray, you can also alternate with some of the others like triple action or spinosad. Spinosad is one that we like to carry through the rest of the season after bloom time, just because of that worm.
Yeah, it's the worm. I mean, have you ever wondered why you have a peach and the worm is, you say to yourself, well, how'd that worm get in right next to that seed?
Peach looks so good, and you take a big bite into
I know,
it,
and
then
there's
you're
half
like,
a worm. There's never a whole worm. It's always a half
because
worm.
you ate the other half. Yep.
So
Okay.
that's because, so these products right here will keep the moth from laying its egg onto the little pea-sized fruit as it's developing.
Yeah. So now one, dormant spray.
Yes.
So we actually like this one through the dormancy to keep anything off of the trunk or from entering into your tree, or for a preventative or a treatment for things like scale, like that.
And then you have your fertilizer.
This fertilizer is awesome. This is a slow release fertilizer. You actually may have seen me talk about this in my other videos, but this one is great for your fruit trees. It also has a 3% zinc, which is important for your fruit trees, and slow release. So this is good for pretty much every fruit tree.
Yes.
So,
and don't worry about remembering any of this. We all have it here on our fruit tree care sheet. To where it tells you exactly when to apply all these products to where you have that perfect fruit. So we do not leave you hanging after you purchase a tree. You get one of these sheets and it tells you exactly what to do when.
Right.
Yep.
Hey, thank you so much for watching. We really do care about your gardening experience. Leave a comment if you have any questions about what we talked about today, or if you want to ask us questions for us to answer on the show, we can certainly do that. Or if you just have subjects that you just want us to spend a whole show on, we can do that as well. Like and subscribe our channel. Also, don't forget that raffle. We are raffling off a 25-gallon shade tree. I think with planting and all this stuff that goes with it, it's a $450 value. If you don't want a tree, then you can gift it to your friend or to your mother or whatever. But we are doing that raffle. So stop by and see us at Rockwell Farms. We appreciate you, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching.